Well, okay, let's start. Hello guys, good morning. Welcome to the International Webinar Ambassadors and Young Leaders Week 2020. With me, Gian Santiomari, who will accompany our great speakers and moderators as the Master of Ceremonies during this event. The theme of this event will discuss Indonesia's Golden Generation 2045. This event will take over 2 hours, which will be moderated by Mr. Singgi Pramono for the first session and Ms. Dea Aulia for the second session. For your information, this event aims to stimulate a sense of awareness of the significance of international competitiveness, extensive networking, and global collaboration among Indonesian people. The ultimate goal is to overcome the present-day global crisis and seek for an opportunity to lead the world. More of these event objectives are elaborated as follows, setting the world's best practice and strategic scenarios against COVID-19 and its domino effect. Example like economic crisis, health issues, reliance on digital technologies, tourism, and among others. Furthermore, have been present with us today our great speakers. Please allow me to introduce them. The first speaker is Mr. Ahmad Fawwaz, as OISAA General Secretary 2019-2020. And the second is Mr. Fadlan Muzakki, as OISAA Coordinator 2019-2020. And the last is Muhammad Iksan Kiat, as Head of OISAA Strategic Research and Movement 2019-2020. Before we begin the event, I would like to inform you that in this event, we are also raising funds for COVID-19, especially for our medical team who are at the forefront in fighting COVID-19. Thank you very much to all of you who have contributed to the donation. Immediately, I will pass the event to our moderator, Mr. Singgi Pramono. The stage belongs to you.
Okay, thank you very much for the Masters of Ceremony. Hello, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, and good morning, everyone, wherever you are. My name is Singgi Pramono, and I'm from PPI Malaysia. So I will be the moderator for our first sessions today. So for today's sessions, like our Master Ceremony have mentioned before, we have 3 speakers. For the first speakers is Ahmad Fawwaz, OISAA Secretary General 2019 and 2020 sessions. The second speaker is Fadlan Muzakki, OISAA Coordinators 2019 and 2020 sessions. And the third speaker is Muhammad Iksan Kiat, as the head of OISAA Strategic Research and Movement 2019 and 2020. Okay, so before we move on to the first speakers, there will be a Q&A sessions and discussion with the speakers after the presentations. For those who have questions, please write your name and your country, followed by your questions. We will choose the best questions from this audience for the speakers to answer. So before that, so allow me to read our event background for today. So 2045 is the year for Indonesia to reach 100 years of its independence. Indonesia has been preparing many programs and strategies to implement the target that calls Indonesia Emas. Currently, between 2020 and 2012 and 2045, Indonesia will have a more productive age populations, meaning that in that range, it is the time for Indonesia to prepare the generations to welcome Indonesian Emas. So the sessions will mostly be talking about preparation for Indonesian millennials or youth to realize the target of Indonesia Emas 2045 or Indonesia Emas 2045. So without waiting any longer, I will invite the first speaker to Mr. Ghiyats Fawwaz as OISAA Secretary General 2019-2020. For Mr. Ghiyats, time is yours.
Hello, thank you, Mr. Singgi, for the time. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Dear audiences, moderators, speakers, master ceremony, and all the committees of ambassadors and young leaders week that we hold around this week by the movement and strategic um, of OISAA or PPA Dunia this year. It's such a great chance, it's such a great opportunity for us to try to share ideas and try to give uh, the opinion and our view about leadership, about how we will be the emerging leaders in the global world in the future. And today we will talk about the vision of Indonesia Golden Era, or we know as Indonesia Emas 2045. As at that time, Indonesia will celebrate its centennial anniversary or 100 years of Indonesia, and so we as young generation we need to be ready for that year, for that time, for that era as the future leaders. In this time, I would like to address you my presentation, uh, sharing ideas, focusing on the education in Indonesia towards the golden Indonesia in 2045. Education, as we know, is an essential human need in the life. Uh, the indicator of a good nation really depends on the quality of the human resource itself. The human resource with the positive dimension of characters will define the character of the nation. In other words, the human resource having a crucial role in the nation pride. In this modern era, dear audiences, intellectualism and social cultures of Indonesian people could be said are, maybe we can say, still left behind other than another advanced country. Even in Indonesia, we have so many resources. We have a very good source of human being, intellectual leaders and academicians. But there are so many homework that must be done, mainly in the things of making the smart citizens of the nations that maybe has not achieved yet until now, maybe in some big cities in Indonesia, but not in another regional places in some areas. And the main key for solving this problem is focus on the human resources improvement. And I believe that the human resources improvement started, the key is education. By this point, as the young generation, now we have to pay attention to education. Then why do we have to pay our attention to education? Firstly, it is because education helps people understand good morals and differentiate between right and wrong, good and bad, and therefore it enables Indonesian to be more disciplined and more productive. Okay, and secondly, educated people can contribute largely to their country's economy by contributing with their skills and competencies, because only by education we could build character of a generation. Okay, because education is not merely a transferring of knowledge, transferring of science, but also the end of the quality, in the end of the education tunnel, is how to put the good character in the human, in the students, in the person who do the education. And maybe the third point is educated people are well aware from their country's rules and laws. They surely understand about their duties and fundamental rights, the policies that has been made by the government. For instance, they know the value of paying taxes, and they pay taxes on time, maybe like that, and how they obey all the rules in the road and something like that. All these qualities of educated persons help them play a vital role in the progress of their country. And I would like to quote from Plato, another few from Plato. If you ask what the good of education is in general, the answer is easy, that education makes good men, and that good men act nobly. This is quite interesting, that the education in the view of Plato is not how to make an intellectual man, not to make the clever, smart person, but the education makes a good man, and the good man that act nobly. So the noble character that instilled in the human being is the most important thing that uh, our education must have. It's the very important finish goals that we have to reach in the education as a good man, which have a noble characters. Besides those points, there are also another point in education that have important roles. Of course, we need a good infrastructure. We need a good system, and of course, we need a good teacher. Exactly, teacher is one of the most important elements in building the character of generation. As I'm already experienced it as teacher for 8 years, around that. Uh, Teacher is the one who teach students, the one who transfer the student all good values and knowledge. Through teacher, students' behavior can be controlled seriously, and their character will be built through. And one point we must remember is teaching a kid, teaching student means teaching a generation. So teacher is very important to build our future generation. And actually, education uh, for me is more than only reading, writing, uh, mathematics, and all those subjects. It is one of the most important investments a country could make in its people and future, and it's critical to reduce poverty and inequality among nation or among us as Indonesian citizens. But education is one of the most important thing that we must develop to reduce those inequality among us. Education is an essential human need, a necessity of society, basis of good life, and also it's a sign of freedom. As we know, there are so many movements in around 90, 1990s or in the first 20th century about the equality between man and woman in education and many things. Okay, and education we know is one of the sign of the freedom that human need. Okay, and once again, education is an important key for integrating our separate entities. Okay, if Indonesia, for example, we want to be a developed country in a frontliner and of course civilized nation, time of Indonesia, 100 years of Indonesia. I believe that the government must pay attention to education. And I already saw that those plans and movement that government has begun in order to develop our education quality. Because if we do not know attentively towards quality of our generation by education, maybe we can say get ready for not only being left behind but also drowning, even through we could simply its all resources. Um, Also, I would like to mention maybe our president Joko Widodo ever said, um, in order to head towards the Indonesian golden generation in 2045, there were several steps to be paced. And those steps should be taken from now in the current time. So Indonesia in the world economy, he said like that. Okay, because as I already earlier said that infrastructure is quite important. As also President Jokowi, he always focus on building the infrastructure. He said that the first step of Golden Indonesia is improving the infrastructure, so we could compete with other countries. So building roads, building many things, building bridges, that bridging between one city to another, bridging between one place to another place in Indonesia is important. As Indonesia is a big country, we should able to utilize its resources, either natural resources or human resources. So therefore, to improve our holistic situation, the government focused to build infrastructure, and I believe building infrastructure for education is one also the most important thing. Okay, so my last point is about human resource investment. Our government already start to focus on this. Okay, as in many opportunity that our president already said that with human resource investment the country could move forward. Okay, upgrading all the young people skill, whether in the university and other sectors. And we now in PPI Dunia, we try to gather all of those potential young leaders, potential young Indonesian students that will be the future leader in the next 10, 20, 30, and 50 years forward. And we hope this effort will give a good benefit for us by our movement and what we do now in PPI Dunia, and for students all over the world, Indonesian students all over the world who still learn now in many countries, in many universities, in several sectors and subjects. We hope we can come back to Indonesia later to build our Indonesia to be a developed country, to be a better country, to reach the Indonesia golden era in 2045. Maybe that's all from me, Mr. Sigi. Thank you for your attention. I'm sorry if there are any mistakes. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much for Mr. Ghiyats for the interesting presentation. So what I can conclude to the presentation from Mr. Ghiyats is that education is very essential so for the country because it relates to the human resources. So education is not merely transferring the knowledge, but education is transferring also the characters. And then another point is the education is education is not making an intellectual people, but the education is making the good people also. And then another point is when we are talking about the good educations, we are talking about also the good infrastructures and also the good teacher also, the good teacher also because the teacher is directly interact with the students. And then one point that very interesting is teaching student is not teaching students means teaching generation. So that's what very interesting point that Mr. Ghiyats have been delivered. So thank you so much for Mr. Ghiyats for the very interesting presentation. So maybe I will pass to the next session to my partner, Mrs. Tia Aulia from PPME Pakistan. So for Mrs. Tia, time is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Singi Pramono. for giving me the time. My name is Dea Aulia, and today I will going to moderate the second session with Mr. Uh, Muhammad Iksan Kiat. He's there. All right. Okay, Mr. Muhammad Iksan Kiat. He was a head of he from Permira, Indonesian Student Association in Russia. He also head of OISAA Strategic Research and Movement. We are going to explain the second discussion. And as a reminder, there will be a Q&A session and discussion with our speaker after presentation. For those who have a question, please write your name, your country, followed by the question. We will choose the best question from the audience for the speaker to answer. Okay, without any longer, we invite the third speaker, our Honorable Mr. Muhammad Iksan Kiat, to deliver his presentation. The stage is yours.
Thank you for the opportunity that given to me. Today I would like to share with you a little bit information about energy toward Indonesia's golden era. Maybe Mr. Operator could help me to share this screen, please. Yes. Could you allow me to share the screen? Okay. Okay, I hope you guys can see the presentation. Energy towards Indonesia's golden era. Let's dream. I'm kind of person that really like to dream, to put my dream in the seventh sky. Let's dream. Uh, Here on the screen we can see there are some grid targets that, in my opinion, Indonesians should be ready, should be brave to put it on the long term or mid term targets. First, we can see in the below there is a need to fulfill to increase the role of renewable energy from 2015 to 2050 from 5% to 31%, as well as the needs of energy from 166 million ton of oil equivalent to 1,000 million ton of oil equivalent. And these, of course, grid target that we have to consider. And the next target is we can see the top performance 2016 by World Energy Forum. They tried to list the best country based on energy architecture performance index. Here we can see there is no Indonesian. They have three components here, three indicators. First is economic growth and development, environmental sustainability, energy access and security. So let's dream we want to put Indonesia in one of the 10 best performed countries. And in the left side, we can see top 10 Fortune Global 15. Here we can see the international companies, best international companies based on the Forbes. We can see there are some oil companies such as Royal Dutch Shell, Sinopec Group from China, China National Petroleum, Saudi Aramco, BP, ExxonMobil, and etc. Where is Pertamina? We don't know. And once again, we dream to develop the Pertamina so that Pertamina can be one of them. And in the left side, we can see also QS Asia ranking 2020 for top 10 universities. We can see universities from Singapore, Nanyang University from Singapore, the university from Hong Kong, but from China also we have Peking University, but we don't see any Indonesian university. So these are our targets towards 2045. What we have to do, maybe let me try to little bit elaborate the normative strategy, let's say like that. So in my opinion, to how can I say that, to increase the competitiveness of our companies, our government, our minister, and our university, we need to implement what we call as triple helix or an helix. So this we can see a triple helix. It means that university, industry, and government, they should work together. And this is a driving force. For example, university and industry, they can create new products, ideas, and innovation. Industry and government, they can talk about jobs, taxes, and infrastructure. Government and university, they can talk about funding and strategic demands. But there is a more complex helix. We call this the five helix or quintuple helix. This helix visualize the collective interactions and exchange of this knowledge in a state by means of five subsystems or helix. First, we can see education systems, economic systems, natural environment, media-based and culture-based public or civil society, and the political systems. So each of these five helix has an asset as at its disposal with the societal and scientific relevance. In example, human capital, economic capital, natural capital, social capital, and capital of information capital, and political capital, legal capital, respectively. So to if we have this helix working together and create such as a productive relation, we still need to increase or boost increase their productivity. So it's so that our helix, our group of helix, or we can call it ball, our ball can be bigger than anybody else. Can be bigger than ball from Malaysia, from Singapore, from other countries. So to how can I say, to make it bigger, we need, of course, human resources. There are some elements, but I would like to underline the human resources that I will tell you later. In the right side, we can see the quality of human resources. The higher the quality, the higher the level of quantifiable productivity. So next, but what are our challenges? Actually, we can call it challenges or opportunity because the world is changing so fast, and there are some required skills appear, and there are some also challenges come up. For example, extreme longevity. So it's increasing global life span change the nature of careers and learning. What we need to do is we should provide solutions such as transdisciplinarity. And next is superstructure organizations. Social technologies drive new forms of production and value creation. What we should do is virtual collaboration, design mindset, cross-cultural competency, and etc. If you look at the top 10 skill by World Economic Forum, we can find such as complex problem solving, critical thinking, creativity, people management, coordinating with others, that maybe we can't find in the university. Uh, so these are our challenges to boost our human resources, and I'd like to share with you what we have done and what we are thinking about boosting our human resources and boosting our economy as well, related to current my current status. Because my current status, I'm studying in Russia. That's why I have such as kind of moral obligation to try to bridge Indonesian and Russia in different areas in order to boost the human resources and also the economy. Um, Lesson learned from Russia. First, education. In such as a big countries like Russia, 9 times from of the size of Pluto, which consists of 81 province, they divided the province into 9 federal universities. So there are 9 same level universities from the east to the west, from the west to the east, eastern part of Russia. Besides, they have also national research university. This is quite unique because we don't have in Indonesia. So, for example, they have specific or national research university for nuclear. They have for oil and gas. They have for economy. They have for electricity and etc. It means that in that university, you can learn not only engineer to be a oil and gas engineer. You can learn lawmaker in oil and gas business. You can learn also how to be a lecturer in oil and gas universities. So everything's about oil and gas. Any jobs you can find in a National Research University of Oil and Gas. And what's next is the examination style. In Russia, we have a examination in the form of a thesis defense. So it's like they give you some questions, 3 questions, for example. You have 30 minutes to be prepared. After that, you go to the lecture and try to explain what you know about this, and you're gonna have conversation, deep conversation with the lecturer, so the lecturer can make sure that you understand it from the root. Uh, next lesson learned from Russia is energy event. Um, Russia, I know Russia loves to build big event, World Cup, anything. But in terms of energy, they created, for example, 2014, they create World Petroleum Congress. Every year they create a Russian Energy Week, and they also create Future Leader Forum for young energy enthusiasm to gather in Russia. So here, in my opinion, Russia tried to involve the world to be their strong networks. So they collect not only experts, academicians from all countries, but also the young people, young professionals from all countries, because they believe that network is the key to to successful corporations. And next is energy cooperation. So um, Russia have more than 12 power plant, nuclear power plant in its own land, and and Russia become the biggest country in doing a cooperation with the world uh, to build such as a power plant. I mean, in other countries. For example, here we can see PLN, our electricity company, in 2018, visits Russia and learn everything in Russia. They bring opinion leaders to see how advanced Russian technology in nuclear energy. And And also we can see we have a signing ceremony with Pertamina and Rosneft, and also there is a small organizations, young organization in Russia. They try to bridge Russia and Indonesia. They try to create such as Energy Week, and they try to deliver some ideas to Indonesia to create their own energy humanitarian energy social energy politics energy law specialization. And we have also cooperation between Sekolah Tinggi Teknologi Nuklir with Russian University and etc. So Russia loves to make a cooperation. And what actually we have done in our organization. First thing is we have a nuclear research team that concentrated on studying nuclear in different countries, in South Korea, in Russia, and in USA and France. They try to create a recommendation so that Indonesian government can bravely build nuclear in our land. And next we have also symposium. We have symposium, OISAA America and European region symposium. At that time, we brought theme with a topic on securing Indonesia's energy sovereignty, the security, economy, and sustainability nexus. And also we try to involve international professor and to connect Russian professor with our professor in Indonesia. For example, we created such a webinar on the topic of current condition and future prediction of petroleum world. And I think that's all I'd like to share with you, and I'm ready to discuss more about your questions and your curiosity. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for Mr. Muhammad Iksan Kiat regarding energy towards Indonesia to the golden era. Okay, let me summarize what the speaker told to us, that the first thing is let's we dream and open the consideration to become the top 10 rank in the world. And also beside the dreaming, it's not fair that we do not going to implement, and we should thinking about strategic what the step to realize our dream. And of course, the quality of human resource is also the one of important thing in the main point. And mashallah, he also mentioned the lesson from the inside of Russia to our better Indonesia, such as energy and cooperation and etc. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Muhammad Iksan Kias, for your best presentation. And we move to the third presentation. For Mr. Fadlan Muzakki as OISAA coordinator. He's there, Mr. Fadlan Muzakki. All right. I think he's not with us now. And also, I giving reminder to all the audience that we have a Q&A session from the first speaker, also the second speaker. That if you have any question, just leave your comment in the live comment, and we will choose your best comment to discuss with us with our speaker. Uh, okay. Besides waiting, I will invite our first speaker, also second speaker, and our first moderator to the stage, and we will have a nice discussion.
Okay, thank you so much, uh, my partner, Ms. Dea Aulia. Okay, so maybe we will continue our session because Mr. Fadlan Muzakki is not ready yet. So maybe I will continue to the next sessions, which is the discussion sessions. Maybe I will start with Mr. Ahmad Kiat Fawwaz. So you mentioned before that education is very essential, and then the education is not only teaching the student become an intellectual people, but teaching also make the student become a good people, meaning that this uh, meaning that the education is not only focused on the knowledge, but the education also focused on the character also. And I already mentioned before also that in that range between 2012 and 2045, actually Indonesia has more productive age, or in Indonesia we called bonus demography or something like that. So I
Demography.
have, yes, the bonus demography. So maybe I will start from that question. Uh, so as we know nowadays is we are having more productive age, like I have mentioned before. So can you share the strategy on how you can boost the youngsters or our generation or the millennial to gain the awareness, especially uh, maybe if you live in Jordan, right? So is there any lesson learned that you can implement with our generation in Indonesia? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Singhi, for the question. It's interesting. It's always interesting talking about the demographic bonus that we will have in the next few years.
Mm-mm.
And as we know, we also as a part of that demographic bonus, as the the youngsters now. Um, if we talk about the awareness for most students, I believe for most students who studied overseas, they already aware well about this kind of situation in the future, and I'm pretty sure that we already prepared well how to face our future as the future leaders, as the future people of Indonesia. We prepare by study, make ourselves better, be prepared with everything that we learned from overseas, from the countries that we learned now. For they will learn on energy, they learn on education, they will learn on languages, they learn on religious studies, and so on. I'm pretty sure that this will be treasure. This will be a treasure for us in the future. But how about the young students, the youngsters in Indonesia? Do they aware of this kind of situation, the demographic bonus in next few years that they will face? Uh, I'm not pretty sure if we talk about that, but what I can say that our institutional educational institutions, our governments, our Ministry of Education, they already aware on how to prepare the future, how uh, to realize building a good quality of education for our future in the next for to face the golden era. I'm pretty sure about that. And now we are already, Mr. Iksan Kiat, talking about the connection between um, education, educational institution, and the industry, and also how to prepare the uh, people who ready to work, ready to create, ready to produce something. It's I think it's efficient for our next few years on in order to tackle to deal with this bonus demography. So my final point is that however our condition, we should prepare ourselves as good as possible, of course, to be what can I say, to get a role. Maybe I would say that to have a role, to take a role, to take a part into to build the Indonesia future. Okay, so in 2045, when we are maybe about 40, in our 40s, in our 50s, maybe we already take a part in some positions, maybe in government. We don't know. Maybe Mr. Isankiel will be the Minister of Energy in the future. We never know, right? Okay. So now what we can do now currently is be prepared for the future. Maybe that's what I can say, Mr. Singh. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Ahmad Kiat, for answering the question. So actually, we should be prepared because yeah, we should ready for the future because in our nowadays actually uh, we demand to learn very fast because actually the information also we can get easily. Then you should adapt with this current situations. So maybe for Muhammad Iksan Kiat, I think with the same questions, I want to know your point of view about this. So
Would you
how
like?
we should prepare as a youngster to realize the golden age or Indonesian Emas 2045.
What I have prepared. Actually, uh, my friends say that I have prepared many things, but I feel empty. I feel I didn't prepare anything actually. Uh, but but when I try to recall it again, um, actually, mm, uh, I see my role for my nations, or I see everybody's role for the nations is as how can I say that, as responsibility, as a responsibility. So every Indonesian people should understand its own responsibility, where he or she is born, and where he or she is studying, or she is getting married, uh, whatever it is, she or he should answer. So should how can I say that, should help contributing to our countries. What I have prepared, I was studying international relations. I thought that, oh, international relations is not enough to develop. I come to Russia. There is such a mysterious country. Nobody's there. There's only 300 people. And
Yes.
I start studying oil and gas, because the biggest country in this world is giant oil and gas countries like Russia, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Australia, USA, and etc. I study oil and gas, but oil and gas going down. It's so the price is very fluctuative. I try to think, oh, now the world is changing. The world is changing so fast. Now we come to digitalization, we come to energy transitions. So then I realized that, okay, then I have to take gas, for example, gas engineering, because gas is still clean in comparison with oil, for example, like that. And I feel like it's not enough. I need to take how can I say that, energy management and economy of energy industry, because it's what we need also to realize actually my dream, for example. And I still think that it's not enough. I need to be involved in some organization, for example. First organization is in Permira. I need to know my brothers and sisters in Russia. and to call them to together with me to build our nation. And then I get involved in OISAA, overseas
Mhm.
Indonesian Student Associations in American and European, and I try to call them also to create the best recommendation and to be prepared for the future. And I realized that I need extensive network, international network. I also go to such as Society in Petroleum Engineering, try to build the organizations. So I was the president, but my societies, my members, all of them, they are Uzbeks and Russians and Africans. So it's quite hard, but I think that I have to train myself because next in the future, this kind of how can I say diversity that I will be in. And next maybe I try to create such as organization with my friends. We called it Indonesian Petroleum Community, Russian and Eastern European. It aims to bridge Russian and Indonesian in all sphere, in business, in energy in all sphere. Academicians, experts, I try to connect them directly. So I actually don't like to speak too much. I like to act directly and see the
Yes.
result and improve it again. So and last but not least, why I've done so much. They told me ambitious. They told me you take many things, something like that. You are too active, something like that. I think that it's like a mountain, analogy of mountain. I believe in a mountain. I don't believe in a tower, because tower, if there is bomb or something like that, it's directly fall down because only one line, right? But if mountain, there is many line. One focus line is energy, and there is many line: education, economy, politics, and etc. And that many line, it cycle the middle line, three
Mhm.
hundred and sixty Celsius. That's why the mountain is strong for 1,000 years. That's why I think that it's important to learn comprehensively and deeply. That's my style to prepare myself toward Indonesian 2045.
Okay, thank you so much. Uh, Maybe I have one more questions to you because actually you are now studying in Russia, and as we know, Russian culture is actually very different from Indonesia. So maybe as maybe in your um, university life or something, did you find anything that this actually can be implemented to the Indonesian youngsters, meaning that uh, maybe like the Russian students or other international student is very diligent or maybe very hardworking. So did you find anything that uh, it can be implemented to the generations, young generations, especially in your university life in Russia? Hello.
Sorry.
Okay.
Okay, thank you for the good questions. Russians, I see Russian as a sincere humans. My friends, they are really
Mm-hmm.
sincere, and they understand me. I'm a Muslim. That's
Mm-hmm.
why there are some culture that they need to separate from me, and they it's hard to get the trust of them. But once you get trust, you can be a really good friend and support each other, respect each other, remind each other. So kind of element of humanity I've got in Russian is for me it's a very precious. But and I think it can be implemented in Indonesia. Maybe I can try to, so how can I say that, to promote such culture in Indonesia.
Yeah, yeah.
Indonesian people, that they when they hear about Russia, they think that Russia is a communist. I think no, it's totally 100% different. Russia is not a communist. It's not a communist at all in this time being. No, not at all. But they still have a sense of socialism, kind of that. Maybe I don't know politics sense of socialism. They help each other. They
Mm-hmm.
prove each other. They respect each other, but they don't like to talk about each other. So it's not important. It's your things. It's not important. If you need
Mm-hmm.
help, I will help you directly. I don't think you who you are. I will help you directly. That's the Russians. That's Russian. They're really good. The northern, they live the warmer their heart.
Oh,
But one thing, I think that I feel it not so much in Russia is the sense of how can I say it? Islam, because I live in the city where is there few Muslims, and by involving myself
mm,
in this organization with Indonesian people. For example, I'm used to talking with Sheikh Ghiyats. For example, I can try to balance kind of culture that's
yeah.
empty in myself. There are sometimes friends from Africa and Middle East. They remind me of
Mm,
Quran. They remind me of Muslims characters, anything. And I'm really thankful for having them in my life. Thank you.
okay, thank you so much. So,
Alhamdulillah. Not to mention, Mr. Singhi, I'm not Sheikh yet because I have no beard.
okay, so Mr. Iksan, thank you so much for answering the question. So, meaning that we need to balance our life between dunia and akhirat. Yeah, between dunia and akhirat. Okay, maybe the same questions going to Mr. Ahmad Kiat Fawwaz.
Okay, in addition from what I've said before about how we need to prepare ourselves, be prepared, be ready to face our future, especially and particularly in facing the centennial of Indonesia and 100 years of Indonesia in 2045, that we have a vision of golden Indonesia. If we talk about
Mm,
golden, is something precious, right?
yes,
So if we talk about precious thing for the nation, is it's human, it's
yeah.
citizen, it's people. So how can we be precious
Mm,
at that time? At the time, Indonesia, our president said we will be the top five of global economic leader.
economic, yeah.
Okay, so Indonesia will be one of the maybe most powerful country around the world with its resources, natural resources and human resources. We don't talk about natural resources as it's not my field. Maybe Mr. Iksan Kiat will talk more about energy, oil, and something that's natural resources that we have. If we talk about human resources, the first thing is we as Indonesian need to build a confidence, proud of the nation, the pride of the nation. We must build this because
Mm,
in many cases, if we compare, for example, to the people of Europe, maybe, or here in Middle East, for me in Arabian nation, um, I don't know. That's kind of behavior, or that's kind of a negative thing that we have. Some of us think that we are inferior than other nations. Okay, that we think that we are not better than other countries or
mm,
other people than other countries. I don't think so. We need to build such a confidence that we pride as our identity as Indonesian. Okay, we have a great country, great resources, great human source. So it's everything for us. It's everything. Actually, it's everything for us. Okay, that's everything that we need to have to build our confidence into to face the international world, the global world, as the
mm,
world citizen. Okay, that's the first thing, the confidence. And second, as we want to open our country, we open ourselves to the international world. Of course, we need to for the youngsters. Of course, this is for the youngsters. We need to have uh, to master the international language skills. For example, for us who learn overseas, for me in Jordan, of course, I need to learn Arabic as well as English, of course. And Miss Dea, for example, in Pakistan, maybe she can learn Urdu and English as well. Mr. Singh in Malaysia, of course, he learned not only English but also Malay language maybe. And Mr. Iksan Kiat, we know he fluent in English in Russia. I don't know if he can talk in Uzbek. I don't know because he have many friends from Uzbek. Uh, that's the key. I think the key that we need to open the international door, the international
I
world.
see.
Okay, so as Indonesian people with 260 million citizens, half of them, maybe 100 million people can speak international language. I will say that Indonesia will be a strong country in the next few years. And the last thing, of course, the most important thing that we need to do now is how to have such a good academic movement in research,
Mm,
technology, and everything. As we know that the great country can build, it can stand by its own feet without having any creative activities, academic and research, well, academic and research skills. I hope, we hope, of course, we hope we as youngsters, as students now, we need to nurture such a good behavior of research and academic way in writing thesis, writing papers, and something like that, in finding something new, innovations for our country, for Indonesia. Maybe that's all from me. Thank you.
okay, thank you so much, Mr. Ghiyats Fawwaz. So 3 points that I want to highlight here. The first is be confident and be pride as our Indonesians. The second one is we should minimal masters one international language, for example, English or another language. And the third one is the academic movement, because actually, like Mr. Fawaz has mentioned before, that education is very essential for the country. Okay, I will pass to the moderator, to second moderator, Miss De Aulia.
Okay, thank you for the time, Mr. Singgi Pramono. It's really inspiring from Mr. Ghiyats and Mr. Iksan. Okay, now if we're talking about golden era for Indonesia, I interest to talk about problem and solution as actually for human resource in Indonesia, we have one little problem, but it damage like time denial, or we call in Indonesia jam karet. So it's very common, like in every country, Indonesian in every country, and also it's very common also in Indonesia that we could not ease or erase this culture. So according to the speaker for Mr. Ghiyats and Mr. Iksan, what is the step for solution to erase this culture or uh, become Indonesian in golden era? Because I don't think so that in Indonesian golden generation still have this culture. Okay, maybe for the first, I will let to Mr. Ghiyats to the time is yours.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, about the time denial, jam karet, it's quite interesting. This is quite I don't know, something that we can't leave as Indonesian people. I don't in many situations, in many environments, um, this kind of time denial is something like it's a behavior. It's something that, yeah, it's nothing. But if we go maybe to Russia, I don't know, if to Japan, time is money. It's really money. If in Arabic proverb that I've learned, that the Arabians say that al-waqtu athmanu min al-dhahab, that the time is more precious than the
Yeah.
gold. Okay, more precious than gold. But it's it's not happened in our in our society. It's not happened in ours. Even in Arab society, I would say honestly to you, that still many of us still saying that if you're late for 5-10 minutes, it's okay, it's no problem. Okay, it's only 10 minutes, nothing happened. But if you go to Europe, maybe even you're late for 5 minutes or 1 minute, it's a problem. It's a really big problem. Even I read a news about 2 or 3 years ago. I'm sorry, 2 or 3 weeks ago, when the train in Japan, they're late only for 35 seconds.
Whoa.
35 seconds, less than a minute. Um, they uh, apologize to to, to the people. They apologize to the people. Okay, it's something that really we need to take consideration, and on how they really see time as something that is very valuable. For me, the first is we need to be strict to ourselves. How we stick to the plan, how we stick to the time, how we stick to something that we already built. Okay, that's the first thing. Second, to be disciplined to ourselves. Uh, it's such a wake up call. It's such our own call from our heart to be on time, to be straight to the time when we already plan. Okay, so then don't waste it on, don't be late because you think that it's okay, it's fine, I'll take a tea or a coffee first and then I come to the class and something like that. Okay, yeah. Okay, maybe that's two things that I can share to you. And the last point, maybe, it's very important to build nation by starting to be disciplined in ourselves. So the time is everything. If we waste our time, I don't think that in 2045 we will have such that vision of golden era. I maybe we're still in silver era if we waste our time, because a year is passed so fast, and I think
Yeah.
every minute that we have now as student is very precious to be fulfilled with learning, studying, and experiencing something new for our future. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for Mr. Ghiyats for your insight that the one thing is we should appreciate the time and increasing our realization. We should realize that the time it will not come back if it was past, right? Okay, thank you very much for our speaker to the nice discussion, and we will move to our third speaker. We will invite to the stage Mr. Fadlan Muzakki as OISAA Coordinator of Indonesian Student Association. All right. How are you, Mr. Fadlan? Your microphone, please.
Okay, like as usual, always forget to like turn on my microphone. Well, assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm so good. I'm so glad to be here. And how about you, moderator, and the other speakers, also the audience here? Hi.
Alhamdulillah. Oh, you're fine. Okay, without take any longer, we will deliver to the presentation for you. The time for her, our honorable, our Indonesian student coordinator, Mr. Fadlan Muzakki. The time for you.
Well, thank you very much, Dea, once again for coordinating and inviting me, and also for the committee. There is Mr. Iksan here, and my broad General Secretary, Mr. Ghiyats here, and all of the committee here. So sorry, I just came in late because I just have some things to be done regarding our organization. And as of today, fortunately that our organization already legalized by Indonesian um, regulation, and it's already registered in the ministry. for how to say, for the legalized community for Indonesian students all over the world. Well, can I share this screen? Let me share the screen. Well, okay, I already prepared my screen here, so I hope there is no, how to say, like, I don't want to take it very long. I just want to discuss by question and answer after this presentation or after this slide. It's not that perfect slide, but like I just want to share some things, or like my talk regarding the material or regarding the academic content that's already prepared or that's already exists in internet or in anywhere that you can see. As the topic today is talking about Indonesian 2045 or the golden era of Indonesia in the next several decades. So I just want to ask to ourselves, this is also the question for myself, is it important for us to pay more attention to the golden era, the golden age of Indonesia in 2045? One thing that strikes me about that one, it is because like we're always talking, we always discussing, we always like conducting the research about Indonesia Emas or golden era of Indonesia 2045. But the important things that where is our action? What is our action regarding what we are talking about, regarding what we are discussing about, regarding what we are conducting the research about? It is also the things that we write on the paper, or this is the things that become the beginning of our action in the future. So this is really important because why? If we see that all of the people talking about Indonesia 2045, but not many people, not many communities, not many organizations also doing action and follow the guide from, let's say, the United Nations to reach the goal together for 2045. Why I told you that from the United Nations? Because if you see that United Nations, World Bank, or other international organizations also have the research or the academic paper regarding Indonesia in 2045. So be careful. Be careful. Why? If we are conducting the research on this topic right now, it's also good. But if the other organization, especially from the other countries, and my big concerns if the researcher is not coming from Indonesia, so they are doing more research, they're conducting more research, and they get more results, and it will be catastrophic. I will say it will be catastrophic for us. It will be not benefit for us, because like people will get data from us, they will prepare something for our future, and they will colonialize us in 2045, and it's really really dangerous for us. So that's why I told you, that's why I am asking you that this is really really important for us. And what important it is, we are doing research, we are doing discussion, we are talking about Indonesia 2045, but what is our action? This is the further question for us, also for myself, that what can we do in organization, what can we do in community, what can we do by ourselves to support or to envoy the implementation of the development for youth, students, community, societies to face Indonesia 2045. So before we, how to say, before we come to the discussion that I gather some of data from some of resources. Before we turn on to the discussion, I just want to show you, this is the original writing of our president, Indonesian President Joko Widodo, that telling Indonesia the golden age era start from 2015 to 2045. And I just want to sum up from this writing. So Indonesia golden era or Indonesia Emas 2045 should be in the 3 or 4 pillars: sovereignty, advance, fair, and prosperous. So actually, our president, Indonesian president, want to these 4 things, and they try to elaborate it in his writing, as you can see here in in this slide. I'm so sorry because like I didn't have any time to translate the writings. I just translate these 3 things to interpret what does it mean by talking about Indonesia Golden Age era 2015-2045. And I just want to jump up to the result from the World Bank. What is the new challenges and the opportunities are emerging to face Indonesia a goal in Indonesia 2045? So World Bank try to recognize 4 things. The first thing is changing nature of works, and we already we already feel it right now, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic period like this. Actually, if we compare or if we see from the other countries like the United States of America, People's Republic of China, Japan, Australia, and any other advanced economic country or emerging economic power countries, they're already doing the changing nature of works, and they're already thinking in the next 50 or even 100 years how kind of the changing for the nature of work, regarding the nature of works, it will how to say, it will be changing, or how they can face the changes, the shifts in the future, and how can they prepare it. And actually, if we just come to Indonesian case, we already prepared it actually. Why I told that we already prepared, because like, you know, we are Indonesian students studying abroad, and we are spread into more than 57 countries through and divided into 3 different regions. And it's really huge resource for us, and we already know and experience the changing nature of work in our own our own, how to say, I mean, in the countries that we are studying. And actually we always doing something like research, discussion, talking about something that already happened in the country but not already happened in Indonesia. So that's why I thought at the beginning that it is really opportunity for us, for Indonesia, because we are spread into more than 57 countries, and we are the main resource for Indonesia to give the advice for government, to give the recommendation for government. What should we do? What will happen in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years, or even in the next 100 years or 50 years regarding changing nature of work? Talking about technology, actually, we don't have any lack of experience. We don't have any lack of human resources regarding technology. Why I told you like this? Because if you see the best university in technology, if you visit and if you survey, there is always Indonesian people or Indonesian students studied there, or there is some of Indonesian scholars or even teachers teaching at the universities. So this is really, really big opportunity for us. So, but we can't deny that there is also gap for this one. Why I told you like this? Because, for example, there is something like we are doing research, the scholars doing research outside, but it is not appreciated by the country. So we should fill the gap. We should fill this gap. We should be the bridge, especially our organization, to be the bridge between the scholars or the students into the government here or the stakeholders here in Indonesia. So the second thing is the persistence, informality in the labor market. It is, I mean, it can be explained that with the expected changing nature of work and increased use of technology, a significant share of employment is likely to remain informal. So actually, we already feel it. We already experience it in the countries that we are studying. So the important things right now to face the Indonesia golden era in 2045 is just to communicate and make the platform or make the movement how to communicate the people in Indonesia, Indonesian people, Indonesian company, Indonesian stakeholder who still have the conventional thinking or minded to changing to change the way of working, to change the nature of work as the point the first point mentioned, so on and so forth. So this is our job, this is our responsible to make it changing in Indonesia. And then the third one is vulnerable to climate change, disaster risks, and pandemics like happens right now. This is the challenges that we are facing because of borderless country. This is of borderless in almost every sectors or almost every aspect of lives. We are borderless, talking, chatting, video calling, or doing discussion, or academic talking, academic discussion, or like seminars like this. This is already borderless like now. But the problem is we might face another things like vulnerability, and then like pandemics. When pandemics comes, when the virus comes, the new virus comes, and it can influence people easily, and there is a borderless in our system of the world, and it will be easy spread it like COVID-19 right now. So this is the challenges for us, but I hope that one of us can, not one of us, but all of us can express the idea to solve the problem, to come up with the solution. The problem is we just thinking now about the pandemic, but my question, is there any other people who will think about this thing after the pandemic finish? I mean, after this COVID-19, not many people thinking about it. So this is our responsibility as a youth, especially Indonesian students, and also, I mean, like Indonesian student, wherever you are, to think about it, to make the center of a pandemic or something. It's not the government body, but this is the social government think tank or something like that. And I think this is really important to face the Indonesia 2045. And the fourth thing is the changing demographic. As we know that the Indonesian demographic dividend will close around 2030, 2045, and the elderly population, a vulnerable group in society, is expected to rise sharply by 2040. And regarding this data from the World Bank, we should be aware of these things because why? Because of the productive people will be increasing around that year, and Indonesian golden age era in the 2045. So that's why we need to prepare, start from right now. If we don't start it, if we waste the time, like Mr. Ghiyats told before, it will be useless for us. It will not bonus demographic, but it will be catastrophic demographic. It will be disaster demographic for us. So that's why we need to prepare and start from right now. Pass on these four things that already mentioned on the World Bank research paper. And then we are talking about social protection, because when we are getting more borderless people, either this is in the cities, provinces, countries, regions, and many more, the social protection is really, really important for us for facing the Indonesia Golden Age era 2045. Why? It is because by doing or by implementing or by promoting the social protection system, it can, as you can see, that build, employ, and protect the human capital. And this is become our grid or our fundamental capital for facing the Indonesia Golden Age era 2045. How to do it? By building, employing, and protecting. I will make it fast because like we have. I just want to have more time to have a question and answer with you all. And according to the research uh, for social protection in Indonesia 2045 vision, it is said that the social protection for Indonesian future, a coherent, consolidated, and coordinated social protection system to serve a changing country in the changing world. So the social protection for the human capital is really, really important. So I just want to focus on this thing because I believe that the previous speaker already talking many things about the Indonesian Golden Age era 2045. And there is two ways. The first one is to provide Indonesians with guaranteed minimum protection across the life cycle. So during the life, because it's already mentioned in our constitution, it's already mentioned in our regulation in Indonesia. So every people, every society in Indonesia should have the protection for their life, start from their birth until they old. They are getting old. So I said that's why the first point is really important for facing the ecosystem for the human capital, because like many people talking about Indonesia 2045, but we are not many people, not everyone talking about like how to improve the human capital. So social protection is one of them. And then the second things is to complement the guaranteed minimum with coherent set of social insurance program for consumption smoothing. So as we know that there's already like insurance for the government body, but it's not going so well. So we should think about it. We should give the solution. We should give the idea and the innovation for them. How can the insurance program from the government body, from the all of Indonesian citizens, can be really, really well prepared and can be beneficial not only for the government but also for the Indonesian society, the most important one. So these two things can be the capital for enhancing the human capital for preparing Indonesia Golden Age era 2045. And I just want to discuss a little bit about the COVID-19 that has illuminated the importance of the social protection system and programs. Maybe you already know, or maybe you already read the news that some of the patients of COVID-19, they needed to pay a huge amount of money to the hospital. And it's really, really, how to say, I was so sad when I heard that news, like why it's still happened, because Indonesia already spent much money, a huge money, to cope up with the solution regarding this pandemic, but it still happened. So that's why the response from the government, not only that one, but also these six mentioned that you already see on the slide, should be improved and should be criticized. I mean, like, criticized is not in negative way, negative way, but criticized in the positive way. Why I told you like this? Because like when we criticize in the positive way, we can find the solution from the problem of the solution. Why I told you like this? Because this six is the solution, but there is always the problem for this six solution. We give the positive impact, we give the positive comment, we give the positive critics for this solution to be a solution for the solution. So that should we build for 2045. If the government doing something and we just criticize something without giving any solution for the society, it will be useless for us. I mean, it will be useless. For example, there is a six solution regarding COVID-19 and social protection. Why I thought like this? Because it really related to Indonesia Golden Age era, 1945. And it's really dangerous because if we just talking and criticize, complaining without giving the solution. What I mean like this, because we know like in the social media era like this, everyone can speak, everyone can talk, everyone can criticize, but not everyone can give the solution for the solution. So what I mean here, I just want to end this one. What I mean here, there is also the problem, there is also the solution. We are talking about Indonesia Golden Age era 2045. We are talking youth empowerment. We are talking about human capital. We are talking about how Indonesia can prepare for the future, especially in the Golden Age era. But not many people talking about how to give the solution from the solution. They're just talking about the critics. They just talking about like the complaint from the solution that already happened, already implemented in Indonesia. But this is coming from government or this is coming from other stakeholders, company, institution, something like that. So my last statement as the conclusion, we know that Indonesia must or Indonesian Golden Age era 2045 cannot be delayed. I mean, if you feel that we are not ready yet, this cannot be delayed. Time flies so fast. Time is always running. So it depends on us as a youth and Indonesian students, not only for the students studying abroad, but also for students studying in Indonesia. We need to collaborate. We need to have a discussion, more discussion like this, and also the action. Also the action, discussion, and the action to what? To give a more contribution to Indonesia regarding Indonesia Emas 2045. We're talking about like we need to prepare human capital. We need to be empowering youth in the cities, in the big cities, and in the village in the Indonesia. But we're just talking. So I hope that we are not only just talking, but we are doing something. And for Indonesian students studying abroad, it is impossible if we just doing by ourselves. I mean, like we need Indonesian students studying in Indonesia, the local students who can implement directly what we are thinking, to implement directly the innovation that we get from the country that we study. So this collaboration will, you know, will enhance the activities, will improve our action, or will improve our capability to talk or to face Indonesia Golden Age era 2045. Well, I think that's all. Thank you very much for the opportunity talking like this. I hope that we will have interesting discussion, question and answer after this. But I hope that even though the time is less, I mean, like the time is running right now, I hope there is like maybe 1-2 question from the audience and we can discuss about it more or in deep. Thank you very much. Back to the back to the moderator.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Fadlan Muzakki, for your insight. And let me summarize here that from the first, your introduction is there one big question, but really raising our awareness. It's really important to us to prepare ourselves for Indonesian golden generation. And also we're talking about the step like challenges and opportunities as a social protection system. And we're going to have a nice discussion to the other speaker also for the main point from you. And thank you very much for your insight. And now I will invite all the speakers, also the first moderator, to come with us to have a nice discussion. All right. Okay. Uh, maybe I will have I will move to the first moderator, Mr. Singgi Pramono.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Aulia. Uh, Maybe for the discussions, actually, I have one question for Mr. Fadlan Muzakki for the presentation. You mentioned before that Indonesia actually should provide a platform to communicate the changing of network of work. So maybe in your opinion, what kind of platform that Indonesia should prepare or should provide to communicate this changing of network of work, like that?
Okay. That's interesting question. Thank you very much for the question. Like one thing that struck to my mind when talking about the platform that can connect all of the changing of the nature of work is the platform that can connect all of the things that already happened, already released right now, for the things related working, the nature of working. Like, you know, there are a lot of platforms right now. There are a lot of applications, startup. They try to answer. They try to meet the demand from the nature of work that is changing right now. But they are not collaborate to each other because the nature is the company. They are compare to each other. So that's why there is a need to have the platform or to have the networks or whatever it says. So there is like one thing that can connect all of the things here, like the community, like the startups, like the application, community organization. So when you just come to the how to say, the platform, you can find everything that it needs for the country. For example, like this is really important. I mean, like maybe tonight or in another opportunity, I will also talk this and send or deliver this message to our government, if there is an opportunity, to the presidents or to the minister, that we need, you know, we need full talent that already coordinated and already connect to each other. Talent from the outside, talent from the inside. I mean, inside Indonesia, locally. Why China can develop so fast like this? Because they have the full talent and they have this. They have some things to like interact all of the talent from outside to coming to Indonesia, to their country. I mean, and then they make something. They're changing something that can change or they can support the changing nature of work. So this platform is needed. I know whatever it is, like it's kind of platform, application, website, or something like that, that can connect all of the things, because you know that all of the things it's not connect to each other right now. Just say like Indonesia need expert in pandemic management or disaster management in pandemic. Let's say, like, if we just search, if we just see, like there are like some people, Indonesian people or Indonesian scholars already said this for a long time. But because we are not connected to each other, the government they just run their project or their programs. The society, they make their own movement. The company, they make their own program just for their existence. Just imagine if we have the platform and someone or some people or the government or company or someone just type like pandemic expert, let's say like that, and then there is like the pool talent show, like someone, let's say A B C D E F G, the names with this their expertise detail. it will be easy for us to like calling them or to ask them to back to Indonesia to ask them to find a solution. And if there is this platform for it will be related to the changing of work for sure. I just give the example of the pandemic like this. If this platform can connect all of the things like this, I believe that before 2045 we're ready to face the Indonesian golden age era. Thank you. I hope like it can answer the questions.
Okay, thank you so much for answering the question. So the platforms here is the platform that can connect all of the things. Yes, because yeah, we agree that in this era we should do collaborations, not just one people or something. Because I remember the proverb. I think this proverb is from the African proverb, and it says that if you want to go quickly, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together. The proverb that I remember about this. Okay, maybe we can move to the question from the audience. Can we? Okay, there is one questions from the audience. Maybe operator, can you show the question to the screen? Okay, so there is the question from Alvin Roshida. So the first question is, how do you see and describe Indonesia in 2045? And then the second questions, what is the most fundamental requirement for nowadays generations to be truly the golden generations? Okay, maybe I give to Mr. Ahmad Kiat Fawwaz to answer this question.
Maybe we can give the time to Mr. Iksan because he didn't talk a lot
Okay.
rather than
Mr. Iksan.
me and Mr. Fadlan. Give the
Mr.
chance.
Iksan, time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Sheikh. Yes, for the opportunity. Actually, the one thing that directly comes to my mind is agility. In my opinion, what we need to, how can I say that, to make people believe that you have to be agile to any, you have to be adaptable, you have to be agile to any in any situation. Engineer in us, and you are required to solve problems, complex problems which is related to economy, politics, and etc. You have to be a problem solver. You have to understand that you have to open yourself to that new challenges, new changes, and anything. You have to know how to analyze the things. SWOT analyze, pest analyze, anything, risk analyze, anything. So it's agility. It's in my opinion, it's very important now. And the second thing is sense of belonging. If you are agile, if you are smart, but we don't have sense of belonging, nobody will care about Indonesia. Nobody will care of that vision. Not only Indonesia, the vision, nobody will care. So sense of belonging, how government, how all of us, how Indonesian people can remind each other, can try to instill the sense of nationalism, the sense of loving your country to each other. That's very important. If you have such a nationalism, and it means that you realize that there are some problems in your country, and you are obliged to solve the problem. That's why you have to learn, you have to extend network, you have to prepare yourself as well as possible, as good as possible. So that the second thing is nationalism, and the third thing is how can I say that? Um, um, so integrity. So everybody should understand that you have to see a problem in all ways, in different ways. You have to solve the problem also in different ways, and try to include different points of view in, because the only key, in my opinion, is not only collaboration between people, but collaboration between ideas, collaboration between countries, collaboration between, how can I say that, between point of view. I mean, combination between point of view to solve a complex problem. These three things that I would like to say.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Muhammad Iksan. Before I move to the second speakers, maybe I just want to remind you guys, if you have any questions, you can just comment on the live chat on the YouTube, and then yeah, maybe we can continue. I want to hear Mr. Ahmad Kias Fawwaz point of view about this question. Okay, time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Senggi. Such a great point from Mr. Iksan and also Mr. Fadlan. Alhamdulillah, we found so many insights, new insights today. For the first question, how do you see and describe Indonesia in 2045? Okay, in 2045, when I'm 60 years old at that time, we have a big hope that Indonesia will be a strong country by 2045, of course. Strong in the economy, the education, in many sectors. And the second question, what is the most fundamental requirement for the nowadays generation to be truly the golden generation? Besides the points that Mr. Iksan already mentioned, I want to highlight what Mr. Fadlan said about gathering the managing the talent and something like that. So the key word is connection. Okay, the keyword is the connection. For me, to complete all of those points, we need to have a great connection between us, between Indonesian students all over the world, between the potential that we have now for the future. Okay, so for example, we in PPA Dunia right now, we are gathering so many potential, okay, students overseas with many sources that we have. Okay, so this kind of connecting people, not to say one of the brand, okay, but connecting people is something that really important for us to be implemented now. Okay, how we connect, how we build a networking uh, for now, and it will be something valuable in the future to be to build such a great Indonesia golden era in 2045. Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Kiat Fawaz, for answering the questions. Maybe we can move to Mr. Fadlan Muzakki to give your opinion about the questions.
So I just amazed with the answer from the previous speakers, like from Mr. Ghiyats and Mr. Iksan. I just focus on the answer, and then now I forget what is the question.
Okay, sorry. So the question is, how do you see and describe Indonesia in 2045? And the second question is, what is the most fundamental requirement for the nowadays generations to be truly the golden generation?
Well, yes, thank you very much for the question. Actually, it's already mentioned before. I think it's not only from me, but also from from other speakers, like what is the requirement to face the Indonesia Golden Age era 2045. But talking about the requirement, a part of the requirement that's already mentioned before during my speech, during my talk, one thing that come up to my mind when talking about the requirement for the young people, especially to face Indonesia Emas 2045, is the mindset. Why I told you this is the mindset? Because when we change our mindset right now, start from now, not later, not next week, not next month, not next year, but start from now. When we change our mindset, So we can prepare everything, not only ourselves to face the Indonesia 2045, but we can change everything. We can prepare everything surround us to face Indonesia Emas 2045. Why I tell you like this? Why I told like this? Why I'm telling like this? I mean, like, I always talking like this. You need to change your mindset. What kind of mindset? We can see the example. We can take the example from the small things. You know, when we were talking about Indonesian students studying abroad, when we were talking Indonesian student association abroad, one cup, what come up to their mind? What come up to the mind of like Indonesian student locally when they are talking, when they are know about when they are knowing about this kind of students or this kind of organization? Wow, wonderful, amazing. They are doing so great, so on and so forth. What are we thinking when we see on the Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, social media, news, or something like that? When someone they are succeed to be accepted in the Ivy League University in the United States or in the top university in the United Kingdom, in European countries or in English speaking countries or in any other countries, we just see like, oh, how such a big achievement, and then we will amaze, oh wow, so cool, so great, they are studying hard, we should root of them. Is it right? Yes. Is it right in the some way? But if we just try to exaggerate the how to say the achievement that already achieved by someone who already accepted by Ivy League University or accepted by the best or the big university in the world, like this is not the things. The things is when you are doing something, when you are got accepted from something, either this is university, scholarship, or something like that. So the first thing and the important things, what should you do? What can you do after this? Will you contribute to your country? Will you contribute to your society? Will you contribute to your surroundings? That's the important things. It will be useless when you're talking, when you prove by yourself, when you prove by someone that already passed the selection of Ivy League University or the biggest or the best university in the world, but they are doing nothing, and you are proud of them. So this is the wrong mindset, I think. So we need to change our mindset. We need to prove for someone, maybe for those who just study, let's take an example, who just study in Singapore or Malaysia for 6 months or 10 months, but after they are teaching um, they're teaching the student in the village for many years. I saw that the scholarship holder, the scholarship grantee from one institution, they study in the Dutch. I mean, like they study in some European countries for 3 months, 3 months, 3 months. The total is 1 year, and after that they teach Indonesian students in Papua for more than 5 years until now. And when I was asking him like, "Hi man, do you want to go abroad again to study abroad, like in some university or in the best university in the world for for your career, for your future career?" What they say, what he said, he just said like, I got funded by the institution, so I need to be responsible from the money already spent to me. 5 years is not enough. If I'm working for 1 month and I got paid for 30 million rupiahs for 1 month, so it's not enough for me to give back to the institution that already gave me the scholarship. So this is really touching. But how people, and especially how young people, how we see these things, we just proud of the people doing something outside. We just proud of the people getting letter of acceptance in Ivy League University, but they are doing nothing. So we should change our mindset. So if our mindset is changing, so we try to appreciate people doing something useful in the village or rural area, more people will have more people will be doing that things. In other ways, that we should change our mindset, that is it right, is it true, it's not how to say, it's not a mistake to be proud of someone who already accepted in by Ivy League or some of the big or the best university, but also we also need to be proud from the humanitarian activists who are working hard for the society, for the human development, for the rural area, for the good education in the village, so on and so forth. So the key point to prepare is to change our mindset to face Indonesia Golden Age Era 2045. That's all. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Fadlan Muzakki. So the important things that we need to prepare is change our mindset. Okay, so I think there's a lot of question in this discussion, but unfortunately our time is already exceed 2 hours. Maybe I will pass to the second moderators, Miss Dea.
Okay, thank you
Okay.
for the time, Mr. Singye Pramono. Okay, thank you for the excellent and great closing statement from the speakers, for your insight, your point of view that really raising our awareness, what is our important, what is the step to for us to contribute to the Indonesia to be a better Indonesia in the golden generation. Unfortunately, our time is up. We return the event to the master of ceremony and we'll close our agenda today. Thank you very much and apologizing for our mistakes and faults. And we give it back to our master of ceremony. Thank you very much for the first, second, and third speaker.
Okay, I think that's all. Thank you very much to all the speakers, moderators, and viewers who were willing to attend from the beginning to the end of the event. Before I close the event, I would like to inform you for the last time, we are also raising funds for COVID-19, especially for our medical team who are at the forefront in fighting COVID-19. Thank you very much to all of you who have contributed to the donation. See you in the next event. Bye-bye.
Bye bye. Thank you very much.